Playworks partnership. Dr. Butler?
Good evening, members of the governing board, cabinet. Thank you so much for inviting me back to speak with you about our Playworks program that we've been implementing this year at Machan School. I have with me some guests that I'd like to introduce, and they gratefully agreed to allow me to do all the talking. But they'll be here should you have any questions. First of all, I'd like to introduce Jamie Aiken. She is, what's her title officially?
Executive Director.
The Executive Director of Playworks for Arizona. And Valencia Winfrey is our Phoenix Director, Phoenix Program Director for Playworks. And we also have our superstar coach, Coach Paul. He's the boots on the ground working with our students each and every day at Mac. I'd also like to introduce you to Mr. James Buckholz. He's not part of the Playworks program. He is my administrative intern, so he's spending a lot of time at Mac and while he completes his principalship certification through the University of Phoenix. So, per your invitation, I'm here to describe our Playworks program for you. And I want to go back and give you a little bit of contextualizing information, talk about how I learned about Playworks and the circumstances that got us to this place with our integration of Playworks into our program. And then I'll go into an overview of what Playworks is, and then I'm going to talk about how we're measuring effectiveness and really trying to determine if this is a quality and useful addition to the programs and the services that we're providing at our school. So it was probably about a year ago I got an email from the director of Arizona Quest for Kids, one of our other community partners. It was kind of one of those mass emails that said, hey, check out this link, this really cool program. Some of the people are going to be coming into town, and they're looking to reach out to the Phoenix community to expand their operations. So I, curiosity, clicked on the link and went to this wonderful site that detailed Playworks and the work that they had been doing basically on both coasts, working really the Baltimore area, Oakland, San Francisco, very urban schools to revolutionize their recess programs in order to ensure that those were safe, structured times of day when students not only played but learned how to play and learned how to solve conflicts, work together, and really be healthier when they returned to class so that they could maximize their instructional day. And so I started reading more and getting into detail. The more I learned, the more excited I became. I thought, oh, this is just what we need. Because as you know, in our district and at Machan, our commitment is to really enrich and accelerate our students in every possible way. We've got breakfast in the classroom. We've got everything we've been doing with PCH and walking school bus to get our kids to and from school in a safe, orderly, organized manner. We've got our well-developed, well-defined, well-assessed curriculum and all the adjustments that we make on a frequent basis to teach our students core content. We have components of our lunch program that are designed and refined to be as helpful as they possibly can be. We serve a fresh fruit and vegetable snack to the kids during the day. We have our extended day, and we have academic parent-teacher teams, competitive athletics, and there's so much. But recess, in the middle of the day, was kind of that time that really was the least structured. It's a time when kids, a variety of grade levels, are out in the yard one time, and they have a great time. And it was also that time of day when our instances of bullying, our instances of student disrespect to one another were the highest. And so I was really looking to bring recess into that whole well-developed program that we have at the school in order to ensure that we're really enriching and accelerating kids at all times. And so I contacted Playworks and got set up with an opportunity to learn more about the program personally. We participated last year in their recess rollout week. So they came into the city, they did kind of a sampling of their activities at a number of schools in the city. And we happened to do ours the week that, the Friday before Easter, so that day we didn't have school. And we had 4 days. Typically the recess rollout is 5. And I watched the coach work with our students, and within, after that 4-day sampling in April, they played those games independently, without the help of an adult. There was supervision around, but there was nobody guiding and teaching and facilitating. They did it independently for the rest of the year, after 4 days. And so that's when I was sold and began looking for ways to make it an official partnership for this school year. So that's how we got to our involvement with Playworks. And so now I'll go into the formal presentation and describe the program for that. Playworks really is a one-of-a-kind organization, and they do work nationwide. They're working to what they describe as leverage the power of play in order to ensure children's health and well-being. We did some observations of our playground prior to going into this, and we saw, particularly the upper grades, kids, the kids who actually play are really kind of the minority of students. The majority of kids kind of wander, or they watch, they hang out, they do this. And it's, the hypothesis is that they may not know how, they're a little unsure, there's just maybe not that much stuff to do. And, the truth is we've got beautiful weather, we've got lots of open space, and lots of opportunity for kids to do well, but sometimes they just don't quite know what to do. The mission of Playworks is to improve health and well-being of children by increasing their opportunities for play that is safe and meaningful to them. And the goal is the vision is to have all children at school playing every day. So we have a really long school day, and it has always been important to ensure that we balance the rigor in our classrooms with physical movement, energizing the students in order that they might be healthy and ready for all that rigorous instruction. And that's what this is about. And again, should you have questions about any of the things I'm saying, please don't hesitate to ask. So some basic facts about, sorry about this.
Oh, that mistake was on our part, sorry.
Okay. We know that you also have a hard copy of this presentation, so you have the full data, along with, in the back of your packet, a detailed set of the research underlying this program that I won't go into tonight, but you'll be able to take with you. We know that more than 70% of children have trouble focusing and paying attention at school. We know that children who struggle to focus often are most frequently inclined to disciplinary issues, and so sometimes a reasonable and accepted consequence for being disruptive, not following the rules, is to take away recess, take away movement, take away play, which I personally believe, and we believe it actually makes it worse in the long run because they don't get those important opportunities to exercise different modalities, different parts of their brain. So in order to address concerns about obesity, concerns about student inactivity, and student inability to focus, Playworks has their approach to stop chaos, shift behavior, and accelerate learning. In order to stop the chaos, they structure time and activities for the students in order to prevent negative feelings around play. Negative feelings around play, it's my ball, you can't have it. I'm going to sit on the swing for 20 minutes and I'm not going to share. We're going to play tag. I mean, our discipline is for the most part pretty good these days. But one of the most frequent things that lands kids in my office now is the game of tag gone awry. So it's tag that starts out as a whole lot of fun. 5th grade's the worst. They just start, it's a nice little touch, and then pretty soon somebody gets a little bit more firm with the tagging, and pretty soon it's rolling on the ground. That's negative feelings around play, and that can evolve. And so we're trying to give them lots of other opportunities so we don't have chaos on our playground during recess time. We want to shift behaviors so that students learn respectful and inclusive behaviors. They practice turn-taking. They practice the development and implementation of rules so everybody's sharing. And they learn to value teamwork and cooperation. These are values that then transfer into the classroom and allow us to accelerate learning, we hope, by reducing time spent on debriefing recess, encouraging cooperation, and providing more time for academics and learning. So every minute you reclaim from having to task analyze, diagnose who did what to whom is more minutes, or another minute that's available for instruction, reading, writing, math. And the better able the kids are to get along with one another, accept one another, and cooperate with each other, the more effective they'll be as a learning team together in the classroom. Most of the problems happen on the playground. This eliminates a lot of that so that we don't have to deal with it in our classrooms or in my office. So the framework of Playworks, the idea is that a full-time caring adult is placed on the playground, on the recess yard, every single day. They work with the kids to help develop their feelings about recess and play, to help cultivate positive feelings about recess and play, and turn it into a time that kids actually look forward to and enjoy, not just for the opportunity to be outside or hang out with their friends, but actually to get moving and do some learning. They learn and practice respectful and inclusive behaviors, and then learn that teamwork and cooperation piece. So we've talked about how we reclaim minutes. Every minute you don't spend on discipline is a minute you then have for instruction. And this is one of my favorites because it helps me visualize what Playworks really is. And this is, I think, one of the things that sets the Playworks program apart from just having structured games and activities out on your playground. Recess is one of the components, but there's 5 other components that we're working to implement. Recess is at the heart of our Playworks initiative. Where recess is organized, it provides students with multiple games and options from which to choose. They teach conflict resolution. A lot of our kids now are experts at Rochambeau, which is paper, rock, scissors. And I'd never seen kids do that at Machan before. Now they're doing it to solve problems, and it seems so simple, but it works tremendously. A lot of the conflicts that evolve between the students is just because they don't know, they don't have another tool, they don't have another way, so that's fine. But if you have other tools and options, you don't have to do that. They don't want to get in trouble, they don't want to cause problems, and so this provides them with those choices and a model and help to solve problems effectively, and they have fun. They love to do this. So in addition to recess, they have class game time. This is a wonderful component because it actually takes that team building, that collaboration, cooperation into the classroom. So class game time involves the development of a schedule. So once every 3 to 4 weeks, there's a time when we take one class period, typically social studies, and the coach goes into the classroom, or the class comes out onto the basketball courts, and the coach works with the classroom teacher and the students, and they learn a game together. They learn a value or life skill, and learn how to use or apply some of their problem-solving tools to the playground, to the classroom. And we've really watched, it's nice to watch the teachers get really involved in that piece. The more the teachers get involved in it, the more it kind of facilitates a nice, productive, positive feeling tone in the classroom as they learn and kind of build that skill set together. The kids get to watch their teachers do some learning when they're out doing some of these activities, and that levels the playing field in a very positive way. And the teachers enjoy it. We've also done some professional development with our teachers on some of these games and activities. So if you were ever to come to Machan and find us doing some of these games, it is for a purpose, and we've used it very wisely and not overused the class game time with the faculty. But we've been able to use it as a community building tool amongst ourselves as an adult community of learners, which is nice. We've also launched the Junior Coach Program, which is peer leadership on the playground. I'm going to talk about that. That's the group that we're actually collecting some really in-depth statistical data on, because it's not just the kids who are typically very effective leaders. I shouldn't say that. It's not the group of kids who typically use their leadership powers for good. And we're turning around some lives with the Junior Coach Program. We also have developed or are in the process of working with the other Playworks schools to do interscholastic leagues, and we have now an out-of-school time, which even though we have this long day, which is beneficial for our students, we have an out-of-school time which allows our younger students, our 4th and 5th graders to get involved in sports. So right now, our out-of-school sport is volleyball for the young students, and that'll hopefully build our capacity to have some really awesome middle school volleyball players in the future, because we're going to give them a 2-year jump on everybody else. So this is some data that I'm not going to go into, but some statistical pieces that through Playworks research they have found. Some examples include 98% of schools report an increase in the number of students that are physically active during recess. 88% of schools involved in Playworks report a decrease in the number of conflicts originating on the playground spilling over to class. And 89% report a positive impact on the ease with which students engage with one another. So there's lots and lots of this kind of data that support the idea that Playworks impacts not just your recess program in terms of safety and orderliness, but also the discipline, climate, and culture school-wide. So that's overall the program, the way it's set up, and the way that it works at a school where they go in. We are one of only 3 schools in the city doing Playworks this year. Their goal is to expand to 10 schools for the coming school year, and we feel very fortunate to be in on the ground floor, so to speak. So I pulled together some of the data that we're collecting on this right now. So the table that is in your presentation shows the group of students. Look at the first box, the 2010-2011 box. It has our 4th graders and our 5th graders. And the data that are showed are year-to-date. So last year, our 4th graders were referred to the office a total of 34 times. And when we say referral, that means it's more than just coming to the office for a talking to. It's where there's literally been a breaking of the rules such that it meets the criteria for a minor or major infraction according to our discipline plan. The teacher or duty supervisor has taken the time to write out a disciplinary referral and ensure that that student is sent to the office for an administrative level consequence, such as a detention, parent contact, something like that. So it's not simply the little disagreements that arise, but more serious matters, non-violent. So 34 referrals, 4 of which did result in suspensions. And that was pretty much one of our heaviest grade levels. And this is a grade level that we're tracking both in terms of behavior and academics. So fast forward now to this current year, they're 5th graders. And this is absolutely our most, I'm going to use the term struggling because it's true. They are our most struggling grade level, both in terms of academics and discipline. To date, so far, they have had, look over on the other column, 2011, 12, 5th graders, they've had 19 referrals and 6 suspensions. So what we see from that is that they're basically kind of on par with last year's performance. They've got about, a little more than half it's the middle of the year, so they're about halfway there in terms of referrals. So we know this is a grade level that's challenged. We have targeted that grade level to implement the junior coaches program. So we went through and we picked kids who, as 4th graders, got 8 of those 34 referrals. So we took 24% of those 4th graders and we said, all right, we're going to use this as an intervention with you. Now, they don't know that they're being intervened with in this way, but we know. And so to date, of those targeted students, only 1 of those 19 has been a junior coach. So I don't even remember what it was for, but that's under 5% of our total. So this is something that we're going to continue to watch. And these junior coach kids, again, you're talking about a quarter of the referrals from the whole grade level came from this little group of kids last year. And what we're doing with them is providing them with an after-school point of contact. Coach Paul, how often?
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 3 times a week. They stay after school. They get explicit instruction in how to be a leader on the playground in a positive manner. They get assistance with homework to support their academic achievement of academic goals. And then they get sent out on the playground, they've got a schedule, they've got a shirt that they wear, and they help facilitate the games and activities. Very different role than what they were playing last year when they were earning 24% of our referrals on the, in the grade level.
Can I ask, those 8 students I think you said,
Mhm.
how many are male, how many are female?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I could tell you. Can you
I can,
How many
break
are-
down boys, girls?
of the junior coaches?
Mm-hmm.
It's about half, I think.
It's, I can definitely get
I
specifics.
think it's about 4.
So it's working well essentially with both boys and girls then?
Yes, for that group. So at this point in the year, I'm hoping to dig into Dr. Stiller's program effectiveness skills, because I really want to learn from her in terms of really evaluating this and following it long term. But Playworks is helping us with that as well. But what we can say from this right now is we can say this is suggesting some things to us. It's very small, it's not the whole school, but it does suggest to us that the rate, we can see, the rate of disciplinary referrals is staying steady, which I'm actually fairly ecstatic about. You don't want to see them go up at a pace nearly equal to last year. We can see that our junior coaches are definitely being referred less than they were last year when they weren't junior coaches. And that from that we can see a suggestion that it's having a positive impact on the behaviors of those students while at recess and in the classroom. So we also have looked at, based on our number of currently enrolled students, the dollar value of our reclaimed teaching time. So there's a statistical analysis that's used to calculate this, and the research is in your packet. But it values, it says that through this work and the reduction in discipline for identified students, you can reclaim as much as about 8 minutes of instruction a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you multiply it out by 180 days and give it a value of about 5 cents a minute, you can get to about $45,000 over the course of the year, just in terms of the value of that time, the amount of staff energy, the amount of staff time that's consumed dealing with discipline can be impacted by this. So we're hoping to reclaim those funds. And in terms of budget and how this has worked, I want to go back a little bit to last year. And when I clicked on that Playworks link, I was really, we were looking ahead to a budget that reduced $4.5 million district-wide, and trying to think about how to continue that mission to be enriching our students, how to accelerate our kids, how to not go backwards, both in terms of academics and behavior, and still implement the necessary reductions in order to balance the budget. So this is a summary, an approximation of some of the reductions at Machan that were implemented this year as part of that $4.5 million. We no longer have an assistant principal at the school. We no longer have, last year we had a discipline paraprofessional whose full-time job was doing some supervision with students, with the assistant principal to run in-school success and help with the accountability side of discipline. We don't have a school resource officer. That was grant funds to come directly from our maintenance and operations budget. We don't have a library media specialist, and that I placed there because that provided students with another option during recess. And we still have a staff member in there, but the schedule looks much different, and it's not just open at times during recess for kids to go in who don't want to go out on the playground and participate in activities there. So if you add all that up, you get to about $200,000, $209,000. And to that, we look at this year and how we're allocating the funds that we have. We do invest in a teacher on assignment to assist with the implementation of the discipline plan. And we invest in Playworks. And I actually misquoted, it's cheaper than that. It's $23,500 for the year. So you get then that total of $73,500. So that's a difference of about $135,000. So we're investing much, much less But it is my sense at this point that we're getting a great return on that investment. And I go back to the fact that discipline statistics are staying relatively constant for that targeted group. And I intended to bring the data on all of the referrals overall, compare this year to last and see. And that's an analysis that I definitely want to do and would be happy to bring back to you. But really, by running the recess program, by teaching the kids, and organizing with all 5 of those components, we're giving kids a lot of incentives to behave and do well, because they get, when they display the magnificent behaviors that we want them to display, when they follow the rules, they get to do all that stuff. When they don't is when we start talking about not doing those things. And they really do respond very favorably to the opportunity to go out and participate in all of these activities. So we're going to continue to watch this data, and we're hoping to see very measurable changes and a maintenance and improvement of the gains that we've made in discipline and over the last few years. Milestones of our Playworks program. These are some photos from our actual journey into Playworks. August 16th, we started Playworks right away. Kickballs and high fives. They do a lot of really cool structural things to get the kids organized, pay attention. They don't do handshakes or hugs, they do high fives. And it's really cool to see the kids engaging with one another in that way. They do a lot of positive messages and writing of the rules and the procedures for games with chalk out on the sidewalks. So you see all these great diagrams and drills and things right on the sidewalk. And it's a nice reinforcement of literacy, functional tags, which they're all going to be tested on the 26th, they actually helped me with a huge problem. We redesigned our playground. The Machan, if you're familiar with the campus, has 2 playground areas. One for the little guys up near the front of the school, and then the rest of it is spread out with the basketball courts in the middle, and it all goes north out onto the grassy field toward Thomas. And it's fine if you have 6 full-time duty supervisors to watch all the nooks and crannies and be very visible to supervise students. But when you don't have that many people, it's very difficult to supervise. And I just didn't know what to do with it. And so Valencia came to me and she said, I've got an idea for this playground situation. Hear me out, because I was very reluctant to listen. And I said, no, we're going to make this work. We are going to keep it. And she said, no, let's think about this. So she drew it all out for me. And what we did was we just combined the playground areas. And we made some boundaries. And my initial impulse was to say, well, they'll never stay on this side of that chalk line. And they started working it through with the coach, and we wrote on the sidewalks with the chalk. And they listened. The kids started to stay in closer for recess and stay within the boundaries and follow the procedures that were in place. And it's made a tremendous difference. And we're able to monitor and keep the kids safe from a supervisory standpoint with 1/3 of the staff that we did last year. And so this is an example of how you can, when you have to make very difficult decisions and end up with some cuts that you're terrible about, if you can be innovative, keep an open mind, and look for solutions, they are out there. And this has been one of the ways that we have really been able to thrive in as we have had to implement cuts to balance the budget. And it comes out in ways like that. And the kids are doing well with it. Our duty supervisors like it because they feel much more empowered to monitor the students, keep them safe, communicate with them, and implement our discipline plan. On October 28th, the national director of Playworks came to Arizona. She came to Machan and we had a wonderful visit with her to our campus. She spent time out on the playground. She talked to our students. She talked to our staff. And I had the opportunity to speak with her. And she's the person who had the Playworks idea and brought it to life over time. And then just recently we had our volleyball extravaganza. This, through the competitive sports aspect of Playworks, the idea is to be able to get some leagues going and get kids, younger students than our current kids, involved in some competitive athletics with one another. So the schools that are involved in Playworks had the opportunity to gather and get their kids together to celebrate achievement and demonstrate their skills. And I think this is a really positive piece for our younger kids, because for many years I've had parents of younger children inquire about sports and activities for their younger children. And that's just not a program that we offer until 6th grade. And of course, we know that when our kids go into high schools, they're going to be competing with students who started sports and athletics at a much younger age. So this is a very critical piece and a very positive piece for parents as well. So in closing, I'll leave you with the idea that the overall learning environment matters. What happens outside of the classroom impacts what happens in the classroom, and kids who are healthier learn better. This does come from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. It also comes from our experience as parents, teachers, and caring adults in the community. This is what we see, this is what we know. This concludes the formal part of my presentation on Playworks. I'll be happy to answer questions that you have.
What are the other schools in the valley that have this program?
We are working, oh, sure.
We're working with James T. Rice School in Alhambra School District, and we're working with a charter school, Pan America, and then we have 2 schools in Cartwright who are currently working on trying to engage some funding to pull our program into their schools.
Is there a funding requirement next year and another component, or is this just a 1-year implementation and then the school runs with it?
No. What makes us unique from any other curriculum is that we place a full-time coach within the school. That's a very expensive endeavor for us, and that's why we ask schools to partner with us to make an investment of $23,500, and then we actually subsidize that by raising an additional $47,000 plus. It costs our organization about $61,000 per school to have the coach there.
And how long is Machan committed to partner with Playworks?
It's a year-to-year commitment.
Year-to-year.
It's a year-to-year commitment.
I had the chance to attend a Playworks workshop at NSBA. It was amazing. I had so much fun because they engaged all of us in the audience, and we did, I think it was celebrity tag.
Yes.
I was one of those kids that would hide in the bathroom or just find any way not to have to participate in recess because I was short and slow. So I'd always be the first one out in every game, and I hated it. And this just gave me a chance to just really enjoy it. I'm so glad to see that there's a positive impact at Machan and that we brought it here to Creighton. So great job.
One of our key values in the program that we implement is simply engaging all the children. It's not about athleticism. It's not about who gets across the finish line first. It's about getting those kids to the starting line, more or less. So I relate to you being short and slow myself. I was one of those children too.
I just want to add a couple of thoughts to that. The idea of making engagement mandatory has been a part of our instructional language for a long time. Formally, through the last time we adopted a teacher evaluation instrument, making engagement a significant part of what teachers do in the classroom is a highly valued and highly effective strategy to be used for learning. And so carrying that through to recess kind of, I believe, reinforces the notion to students that from the second you step on that campus till the time you leave at the end of the day, the expectation is for you to engage in whatever it is. Math, science, social studies, reading, writing, play. Because there's a purpose behind all of these activities, and mastery of these activities are going to help you not only feel better, look better, speak better, but they're going to lead to a much more fulfilling life. And I think they get it. I mean, it's day to day and kid by kid, but that's, if I could pinpoint one critical change to make in a school culture that I think we have, it's that notion of making engagement mandatory for all. And this is a way to reinforce that. They hear it from all their teachers, they hear it from their coach, they hear it across the board when they're at our school.
Mr. Dubin, in my professional work, I've had the privilege to work with Playworks and see how they interact with children and maintain order and discipline with ungodly numbers of kids in, I guess, absurd ratios. But so it sounds like it's going well in your school, and I also realize that when we implement change, small and positive, there sometimes is still resistance. I'm wondering how your staff has responded to.
The only thing I'm worried about with my staff and Playworks is the number of them that want to go work for Playworks. There really hasn't been any problem, and it's, I don't know, I can't imagine a staff that would have a problem with it based on like Tiffany's experience, just the way they approach. It's all positive. It's everybody at their level, pretty engaging, and it's about values of collaboration, community, teamwork, and achievement. And that's what the teachers are about, to the core. So when I told the teachers, we aligned it, it kind of fell nicely because it was right after AIM. So we had done that huge, heavy, the rollout, heavy push, prep, ready, so AIMS comes. And you know, there's always this risk right after AIMS where everybody takes that collective sigh of relief, you know, and then the whole system starts to slow down and fall apart, or it could. Doesn't, it could. I talked with the teachers about looking at this as a great reward for the kids. You know, you've all given your best. You've put forth your most significant effort to demonstrate your best on these assessments. And so for that, this is what we're going to do. And you know, that was, nobody argued with it. It was a great idea. And then we brought them in and did some of the activities with the staff, and they were sold. And every now and then Paul gives a T-shirt to somebody, and they wear it with pride. And there has been no resistance. And a couple more things I want to say. When we changed the transportation plan, which I think is one of the last things I talked to you about, one of the concerns we had as a district was the number of kids we may potentially lose to Phoenix L or charter schools because of proximity. And so we really, you know, it is, in my opinion, critical to ensure that we're doing some things to make ourselves stand out. You know, in pure business terms, you've got to have something to market that people can get behind. And this is one of those things because the word is out. And our numbers have stayed steady. We're still 650, and we do have some transiency in our student population. But parents come in, and somehow they've heard that we're doing it, and they'll ask questions. You know, is this the school that has that fun thing at recess? Is this the school with the coach? Is this the school that does? You know, and some of them do know it by name. And so we've had some families come in for that, and I think that once they're in the game, if that's what gets them in, there's a lot more to stay for. But this is one of those things that can get them in. And then in terms of the staff and the cost of the staff, you know, last year we spent money on paraprofessionals, people to do duty, people to do the component of the discipline plan, and that all has a cost. You know, it doesn't cost as much as what Playworks invests in a coach. But for us to spend $27,000 on a full-time para, the skill level is different, the education level is different, and the ongoing job-embedded professional development only exists if we explicitly plan for it and implement it. The Playworks coach gets all of that on an ongoing basis. Our teachers meet in PLCs, professional learning communities, a minimum of twice a week, minimum. Our coaches, they meet as a PLC once a week. They talk strategy. They talk effectiveness. And then they bring that to the recess yard. And that's not something you're going to get with it would be difficult to get that with a paraprofessional staff member without a heavy emphasis that would probably cost about $60,000 to achieve.
Matt, do you have any questions?
Oh, yeah, I could go a few. First of all, thank you for the wonderful presentation. There's quite quite a bit of evidence linking academic performance to physical activity. I know there was something that came out just recently, I think this week or last week that I saw, and we're still trying to figure out why that is, but some of it does have to do with just activating your brain. Is this something that is every day at recess, at every recess?
Yes.
And so we have, can you remind me what we have in terms of minutes per day of recess, and is it just the lunch period recess, or is there additional recess as well?
Playworks explicitly works with students during the lunch recess time, and we have a very structured schedule for their day. So they get prep, they get their contact time with students, and then they do class game time, which is another 50 minutes. But the recess period per class, per grade level, is 25 minutes. So when they're out there, that's the time that they're exposed to Playworks every day. There is an additional 10-minute break period, either in the morning or the afternoon, depending on when they're placed. And that is still a teacher-supervised time. However, because of class game time and the teacher's exposure to this, in a lot of cases, that 10-minute teacher-supervised eat your snack and play has turned from, the teacher's quick little timeout while the kids run and do their thing, to the teacher actively engaged in and facilitating a process with the kids or playing alongside them using the tools that they've learned from Playworks. So it has impacted all the facets of play at our school. They're typically not out in the morning, like from 8 to 8:25 before school officially begins. But the kids, the junior coaches are there, the teachers that are on duty are out there, and the kids, we've got 650 kids that are learning these games and techniques, and they do begin to organize on their own, and you see it happening fairly often.
Is recess at the lunch period before or after lunch, or is it staggered depending?
We've done it both ways. It used to be what I consider to be the traditional schedule where you go to eat and then you go play. Then we flipped that and we did play first then eat, because there was research that supported that the kids would eat more food and then then they would have, especially when the weather's so hot, they get the time in the cafeteria to cool down, and they don't have to have cool down time when they get back to class. So again, reclaiming that instructional time, and that works really well. But in order to facilitate one coach's ability to service all these kids, I looked at it by grade level, so now I've got a little bit of both, and it seems to be fine. They have a sufficient amount of time in the cafeteria and a sufficient amount of time outside to play. The majority of grade, it's about half and half, I think, and I, again, don't remember off the top of my head, but it just really depends. I kind of tried to look at it in terms of age and targeted grade levels and make some decisions about which to do first when building the schedule. So it's a blend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I had the opportunity quite a few years ago to go to Japan with the junior ambassadors and visit other schools, and it's not Playworks, but they schedule their classes different. They don't have recess, but after school it's clubs, and everyone belongs to a club. Everyone's involved, and you do have that. Some of our activities, some are more like chess club, things like that. But that's what struck me, that each student was involved in their school in something they enjoyed. And it sounds like this is impacting a lot more students, like Tiffany said, and that with those who aren't as tall or as athletic, that they're enjoying more of the time at school, which makes a big
I
difference.
definitely think so. And one of the pieces of measuring the effectiveness of the program, I think, would be to collect some of those perceptions. The timing wasn't right, and I wasn't ready to quite put kids up here yet, but there's some ways, I think, to collect some of that, because they really do like it. Typically, Playworks is like a K-5, K-6 operation, right? And so I said, well, you can come to Machan, and we really want you here, but I am a K-8 school, and we've got to figure out how to stretch it all the way to 8th grade. And so they did, and it's a wonderful thing to see those 8th graders and those 7th graders out there playing Foursquare. You know, it's better than some of the things they could be doing. And so I'd like to think we've given Playworks the opportunity to expand a little of their thinking as well in terms of how to implement in a different kind of a school design. But even the older students, and that's kind of where I'm interested in, because something happens about 5th, 6th grade-ish when they stop just playing because that's what you do, and they start being self-conscious and start deciding not to play because maybe they want to secretly inside, but it's not cool, or nobody else is doing it, so I'm not going to, and I'm just going to be rotten and nasty. This helps to make it cool, and that way you don't have to worry about it. And if your teacher does it, and Mr. Dupin does it, and my friends do it, it'll probably be okay. So I've enjoyed watching that unfold with the older kids.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Next agenda item, personnel control.